Marvel Studios is really stepping into new territory with their upcoming Disney Plus series, Wonder Man. And honestly, it sounds like something totally different from what we've seen before in the MCU. According to Brad Winderbaum, who oversees streaming, television, and animation at Marvel, Wonder Man is a bit of a passion project. It's coming from the creative minds of Destin Daniel Cretton and Andrew Guest, and Winderbaum couldn't stop raving about how special it is. He even went as far as to say it's one of his favorite things Marvel has ever done, even if no one's seen it yet. So what makes this show stand out? For starters, the tone. Winderbaum described it as a love letter to filmmaking and acting, which totally lines up with the premise. The series centers on Simon Williams, who's both a superhero and an actor, a pretty unusual combination, even in a world filled with gods, aliens, and talking raccoons. Yahya Abdul-Mateen II is taking on the role, and from what's been teased so far, we'll be seeing a very layered, possibly even satirical take on Hollywood through the lens of a superhero story. Now, if you know Wonder Man from the comics, you'll know there are actually a bunch of versions of this character across the multiverse, and some of them are truly wild. So, let's dig into some of those alternate takes and think about which ones might show up in live action. Let's start with Earth 818, where things are pretty dystopian. This Earth was taken over by the Black Skull, one of the multiversal masters of evil, and the Resistance is led by that universe's Tony Stark, who goes by Ant-Man. In that world, Wonder Man isn't your typical red and black costumed hero. Instead, he's pale-skinned and part of the rebellion, described as a slave of the silver screen, a nod to both his acting background and his subjugation under the Black Skull's rule. After the villain is defeated, Simon Williams sticks around with Infinity Thing to help rebuild, while Ant-Man moves on to fight elsewhere. That gritty, revolutionary version could fit right into the tone the Disney Plus series is aiming for, especially since the show is said to blend glitzy Hollywood satire with deeper emotional threads. Another version that might intrigue fans comes from the Exiles comics. Here, Wonder Man ends up absorbing gamma radiation after a bomb is dropped on the Hulk, and because his body is already powered by ionic energy, it turns him into something even more powerful than the Hulk himself. Stark calls him just a little stronger, but he's basically a beast at that point. He lives in seclusion with the Scarlet Witch and a legless Doctor Strange, and when the alternate Spider-Man from Weapon X threatens Wanda, Simon loses it and hulks out. This take on Wonder Man explores isolation, rage, and the monstrous side of power. If Marvel wanted to go darker, this could be a fascinating route, especially if the series ever touches on how fame and power mess with Simon's psyche. Then there's the version of Wonder Man known as Hollywood, seen in an alternate future where he's got snow-white hair and ends up joining the Guardians of the Galaxy. Initially reluctant, he eventually becomes a full member and even works with the Galactic Guardians later on. A version of this character also appears in the 2008 Guardians series, where he's fighting under Killraven's command. Bringing Hollywood into live action might be a great way to bridge cosmic Marvel with Earth-based stories, especially if the MCU is planning to expand the Guardians' legacy post-Volume 3. Now, let's not forget Heroes Reborn. In that pocket universe, created by Franklin Richards after the battle against Onslaught, Wonder Man joins the Lethal Legion under Enchantress. His job is to distract the Avengers. Pretty sneaky, but it doesn't go well. He gets captured by S.H.I.E.L.D. and eventually gets absorbed by Loki, who's always up to something. If Marvel decides to explore Wonder Man's ties to villainy or use his past to raise questions about loyalty and identity, this version could give them plenty of material. Another fascinating take is from House of M, where Wonder Man is a full-blown celebrity and rumored to be romantically involved with Carol Danvers. It's a universe where mutants rule, and this Simon leans all the way into his acting career. If the Disney Plus show leans into his movie star persona, this version might serve as inspiration for the glitzier, more fame-obsessed side of Simon's personality. Of course, we can't skip Marvel Zombies. In Zombies vs. Army of Darkness, Simon becomes one of the infected and storms Doctor Doom's castle alongside zombified versions of Nightcrawler, Storm, and Beast. He also appears as one of the survivors on the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier in Dead Days, before things spiral out of control. While it's unlikely we'll see a full zombie version of Simon in Wonder Man, it's totally possible that a future What If or a multiverse saga film could bring him into a horror-tinged scenario. Then you have the MC2 universe, where Wonder Man dies heroically and never comes back, but robotic versions of him do. That's a fascinating concept in itself. What does it mean to be a copy of a dead hero, and how do others perceive you if you're not the original? That kind of identity crisis could be right up this show's alley, especially considering how much it's focusing on performance and authenticity. In Old Man Logan, Simon fights a supervillain army in Connecticut and ends up getting shot by Crossbones. It's brief, but it shows he was still active when everything went sideways. Again, if the MCU ever jumps ahead or revisits that timeline, Wonder Man could definitely have a place in it. In Ultimate Marvel, Simon Williams is a bodybuilder who becomes a West Coast Ultimates member and gains Hulk-level strength, along with some mental instability. That twist on the character, where he's dangerously powerful but not entirely in control, could give the Disney Plus series a compelling internal conflict if they decide to touch on mental health, fame pressure, or identity loss. And then there's Wonder Man, My Fair Superhero, a miniseries set in the future where Simon tries to reform a new villain named Lady Killer. It's more comedic and lighter in tone, but the idea of Simon trying to mentor someone while navigating his own messy life could totally work in live action. Back to the show itself. Wonder Man is expected to premiere in December 2025, and it's going to break the usual Marvel format a bit. Instead of all the episodes being the same length, the run times will vary. Some will be quick 20-something minute bursts, while others will go up to 40 minutes. That flexibility could really help the storytelling breathe, especially with a character like Simon who's balancing two completely different worlds, Hollywood and superheroism. Even though the first footage hasn't shown Simon using his superpowers yet, it's exciting just to see Yahya Abdul-Mateen II in costume. So, while we're getting a unique, artistic look at Simon Williams' double life as a celebrity and a hero, we might also be witnessing the first steps toward a whole new team in the MCU. That alone makes Wonder Man one of the most exciting projects on Marvel's slate, and a series that could reshape the universe in more ways than one. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.